Today, we are really excited to have Brother Michael Klemm on the line with us. He is the President and Directing General Chair of District 141 of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Brother Mike was initiated into the Machinists Union in 1992 when he began working on the United Airlines ramp at JFK. Today, he oversees and administers more than a dozen contracts, including the historic 2016 contracts at United Airlines and the 2020 industry-leading association agreement with American Airlines. The work that he does on behalf of airline employees has helped add more than $1 billion in wages, imposed important job security protections, and defended the safety, health care, and pensions of tens of thousands of machinist members around the nation. So we wanted to bring him on the show today to talk about what unions can do for workers, right? Because a lot of folks, especially in right-to-work states where union membership is low, they don't have the understanding. It's not in the culture that workers can come together and fight for each other and win against the boss and win against corporate executives that rake in profits off of our labor. They don't have that. It's just not in the air. They just don't think about it. Whenever they have a bad job, if they have a boss that's not paying them enough, or they have a boss that's bad to them, that's harassing them, that isn't creating safe working conditions, they just think that's how it is. That there's nothing that they can do, and the most that they could do is go to another job. And they just don't think about organizing. They don't think a union can help. They don't think that they can help themselves. They think that the job is what it is, and if they don't like it, they have to deal with it, or they have to go to another job. They think those are their only options, and it's not their only options. Workers, when they come together, have power. Our labor is what makes the profits for the company. Without our labor, the companies can't do anything. And so we're going to be bringing on a bunch of guests in the next few weeks from unions to talk about how they have been winning for their members, how the members have been winning for themselves. And so we're really excited to welcome Brother Michael Klemm to talk to us about what he's been doing for machinists, what he's been doing for machinist members around the country.
I don't hear any. Oh, there we go. Good morning.
It'd help if I turned my microphone on. We're struggling a little bit this morning. How are you doing?
Can you hear us, Mike?
All right, let's see.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Now I can, yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you for bearing with us, Mike. This is our inaugural show on the radio. We are trying to piece everything together, but hopefully we've got it going now. How are you doing out? You're in Chicago, right?
Our office is in Chicago. I happen to live in New York. So we're quarantined here in New York.
Okay, in New York. All right. Well, that's kind of the epicenter of everything right now.
It sure is.
Yeah. I assume you're staying safe. Everybody's safe, healthy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good deal. All right. So you're with District 141, Machinist Union District 141, IAM and Aerospace workers, of course. About how many members are you guys representing up there?
So in our district, we have just over 38,000. And with United Airlines, which I guess we'll get into in a minute, we have about 27,000.
Wow, 38,000.
Yes, sir.
That's great, man. That's unbelievable. And then the airlines. So you said United. I assume you're representing several other airlines other than United.
Yeah, we have about a dozen contracts on 5 different carriers: United, American, Philippine Airlines, Spirit Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, big one for us as well. And we have some non-carriers that we represent as well, like United Ground Employees, Facility, Flagship Facility Services, and Science concepts.
Wow. Whenever we were talking yesterday, I think Brother Dave Lehigh sent me some information about you. He said you actually got your start as a ramp worker, which is pretty amazing.
Yes, I did. Grew up as a ramp guy in JFK right here in New York. And those New York guys, they hold me accountable, not only way back then, but even to today. So I was getting texts, you better get this done, Klemm, and stuff like that. But I also got a lot of appreciation when we were able to kind of stop United in its tracks. So that was a great feeling, to say the least.
Yeah. And that's something that I wanted to touch on real quick was the fact that, down here, one of the big, we're in Alabama, of course, one of the big talking points anytime we try to get in and organize a company is all of these union bosses are going to come in and, speak for you and things like that. And, the fact of the matter is the union bosses are us, the workers that's out there on the front lines. You're democratically elected. There's nobody, no big chief telling everybody what they're going to do. It's a 100% democratic union. And we really want to get that out to all the workers that we're trying to broadcast to is the fact that, whenever you form a union, it's not somebody coming in and telling you what to do. It's your workers collectively electing the people that they want to represent their best interests. So that's
right, Dave. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, good.
But that's right. I was fortunate enough to get elected as shop steward up in JFK, which led me to be the committee person in JFK as well. Grew into committee chairman, which oversees LaGuardia and JFK, all by election. Had to stand election every 3 years for shop stewards every year. And then obviously I was lucky enough to become a district officer, which was voted on by the entire membership across the country back in 2008.
Yeah, and that it really speaks to the democratic spirit, and it also speaks to the trust that everybody's put in you as far as being the leader of District 141 in general. And the reason we brought you on is there's been a lot of talk in the past week, 2 weeks about United Airlines. They've been in the news a lot. And then, of course, our union with the Machinists Union has been making a little bit of rumbles as well. And I was hoping you could give our listeners some updates on actually what's happened with your workers out there.
Absolutely, Dave. So not yesterday, but the previous Friday on May 1st, United Airlines announced that they were going to furlough 15,000 of our full-time workers, our full-time employees.
Wow.
And not only was the announcement itself a violation of our contract, but they were even they failed to follow their own rules of our contract, whether it was timelines, whether it was process outlined in the contract correctly, notification, proper forms. Just it went on. And for whatever reason, they thought that we weren't going to push back on that, which at the time, I'll admit, I had a good working relationship with some of the bosses over there at United, but this situation has significantly impacted that. I'm hoping we can get back on track in the near future, but not to deviate too much. United also took money from under the CARES Act, and furloughing employees was a violation of the CARES Act as well. So here we have a company with billions of dollars asking for more billions of dollars from the taxpayers with the stipulation that they don't furlough anybody, and there they go trying to cut not only salaries and benefits, but and before I forget, Dave, I just want to point out as well, a month earlier, the United Airlines had come to us, the IAM and the other labor groups.
Hey, Mike, we got about 10 seconds before this break. Can you hold and let's pick back up on the other side?
You're listening to the
Yes, sir. Sure can.
Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Yeah, so Michael, when we left off during the break, you were talking about what United had tried to do and how it was a violation of the CARES Act and the CBA. So if you could just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. Got to get used to those breaks in, so we'll work on that together. But anyway, what I really wanted to talk about is despite the violations of our contract and the CARES Act, United, just a month prior to this announcement, had come to not only the IM, but all the labor groups, essentially begging us to use our legislative power and our ability to influence Congress and help them obtain this money. And that's what made it so frustrating for them to turn around and then, as I stated just a minute ago, directly attempt to violate our contract by furloughing 15,000 of our full-time members. So very frustrating to say the least. But as you guys know, we put back, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, so I'll turn it over back to you guys.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you see a lot of times we work. There's a lot of talking points that say unions are killing businesses, but the fact of the matter is 99% of the time we're working hand in hand with a lot of the businesses to try to make sure that our members are staying employed, staying paid well with good benefits. And, we've got an extremely powerful legislative team working not only in Capitol Hill in DC, but also, a lot of the state councils working in the various states, making sure that all of our members are staying employed, and it's constant. You see it time and time again where the company comes to us asking us for help, and we're always willing to help, especially when it comes to keeping our members employed. But then to turn around and slap us in the face like that, but why is anybody surprised? This is typical business relations.
Very true, David. Very true, sir.
Everything for them and nothing for us. So, and that kind of brings up the fact that, when all of this started coming around and it looked like United was going to do everything they could to cut a lot of the members' hours down, even after they had taken the money that we worked so hard to ensure that prop them up. And it should go without stating that the entire reason behind the CARES Act was to keep people employed, and they're wanting to cut hours in half. Nobody can live on that, and it flies in the face of the legislative intent in general. But the Machinists Union actually filed an injunction in court. And what was that all about?
So that's correct. So as I announced, not announced, as we talked about earlier, the company announced this furlough, and we felt it was a direct violation, again, of the contract and the CARES Act. So we filed the lawsuit. We filed it on Tuesday, May 5th, and lo and behold, on Wednesday, May 6th, United announced that they were going to postpone this furlough. And now they tried to say that they heard the voices of the employees, but it's just coincidental it happened to come the day after we filed the lawsuit. So now,
and it's funny the fact that
late yesterday, just to be fair with you, David, we withdrew the lawsuit without prejudice, which will allow us to file back if needed. So we can't guarantee the company wouldn't try this again, because they did announce almost like a pause, like they would just maybe look at it again in a month. But we would still demand that they file the contract and the CARES Act, which if they file both, if they file the CARES Act, they wouldn't be able to have any furloughs before October 1st. So, but if they file the contract, we're going to make sure they do it right. And they cannot, under any circumstances, just arbitrarily furlough 15,000 full-timers to part-time. It's just, I don't know why they thought they could, but I guess they thought the IM wasn't going to fight back. But they must have forgotten our nickname, which is the Fighting Machinists. That's right. Damn sure.
That's right, the Fighting Machinists. I love that. And it's also it's worth repeating or worth talking about that American Airlines CEO even come out and said this wasn't the intent of the CARES Act, that he didn't think that they could be doing it.
That's right. I mean, listen,
we finally got somebody on our side.
Help from a lot of people around the country. But Doug Parker coming out and saying that was certainly put Scott Kirby in check, to say the least. And there's no love lost between those two guys, so I'm sure there was some. It felt good for Doug to do that, but Doug was right. Doug was doing the right thing by his employees and our members, because we represent those members over there at American Airlines as well.
Exactly.
And it was good to see a CEO stand up and do the right thing and say the right things at the right time.
Yep, exactly. And can you speak a little bit about the fact that, we talked about the Machinists Union, the legislative department going in there and filing this injunction, and you guys have removed that as soon as United came to their senses. But there's also a lot of members. I know I was one that was writing my congressman, but not just me. There was hundreds of thousands of members across the United States writing their congressmen and legislators trying to bring them to the table to get United to making progress with United. And can you speak about that at all, as far as what all the members are doing out there, the rank and filers?
Absolutely, Dave. So let's speak. You say hundreds of thousands. There was over 11,000 members, IM members, that called their senators or their congressmen or women, and that was, of course, a tremendous help to us. Whether it was showing the solidarity and doing some informational picketing out and about around the system, it was just, or whether it was even our own members on the shop floor just expressing frustration to their supervisors on what an injustice United was attempting to do. All that combined is what helped us get here. Make no mistake about it. This was not a one-man show or a 40-person executive board at District Lodge 141 show. The members made this happen. And not only the members that work at United, but at American, at Hawaiian, they all chipped in. Members like yourself all around the country, whether you're in Alabama or up in Maine, we all came together to fight this fight together. And it's something that not only I am very appreciative of, but my entire executive board and all our members here at United are very grateful for.
Yep, it speaks to the solidarity of the workers in general. And so, as they were calling their politicians, did you have anybody that you wanted to give a special recognition to? I know I'm sure there's several up there in New York that's helped out, but I'm sure across the nation as well.
Without a doubt, they appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk. I mean, a big thank you to Senator Howley out of Missouri. He was the first one to step up and write a letter to Oscar Munoz, which was very impactful. Congresswoman Jackson Lee out of Texas, she jumped on board right in the beginning of the fight. We had Jackie Spears out of California, and of course we had Stephen Cotton, who is the General Secretary of the International Transport Workers Federation, who made it clear that if United Airlines intended to get back into international travel, they might want to adhere to our contracts and follow the rules that comes with taking billions of dollars under the CARES Act. So big shout out to those. There were more. I don't want to
more. Yeah, there's always more.
Anybody, but those were the first ones that really came and joined our fight right from the beginning, and truly appreciative of each and every one of them.
Yep. And there's always there's so much work that goes on in the background that nobody ever sees. And we hate to leave anybody out, but that's a great list. And as we're moving forward, we're talking about Delta Airlines, and we've been trying to organize them for a little while, and it kind of speaks to what the Machinists Union in general is able to do with how it affected United, and how it kept all of those workers employed at full-time workers. And we don't have but about a minute and a half left in this segment, but if you could talk a little bit about, the difference between not having a union in place at Delta as opposed to something like what United has with us in the Machinist Union.
And Mike, I'm going to tell you real quick. We've only got like 1 minute left. I think we'd like to bring you back for one more segment to keep talking to us. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely. We can make that. Absolutely.
All right.
Do you want me to answer this question or hold off? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead. And if the bumper music comes on, we'll fade you out and then we'll bring you right back.
All right. That's not a problem.
I'll tell you what, I hear it.
I've been home with my wife and kids. They phase me out all the time, so I'm getting used to it.
I hear it coming right now. Let's just hold off, and then we'll bring it right back at the next segment, because I can hear the bumper music coming on as we're talking.
And this is a really important point, so we don't want to cut it short either. Because one of the points of the whole show is to talk about what the difference being a union brings you. So we want to give that its full due on the next segment.
The Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
All right, we are back. This is the Valley Labor Report. Report. My name is Jacob Morrison. We've got on the line with us Brother Michael Klemm, who's the President and General Directing Chair for International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, District 141. And when we left off, we wanted to talk to him about what's going on at United, which is a union airline, versus a non-union airline like Delta, because one of the biggest purposes for this show is to educate the audience about what can happen. Video's gone. What can happen when you come together with your fellow workers in a union, and how much more protection that you get when you've got a union on the job, when you're organized. So brother, go ahead and talk to us about what's happening at Delta versus what's happening at United, where you have a seat at the table.
Will do. Thank you, Jake. So what we're hoping is that this taught the most. It sounds like. Am I echoing now? There we go. Okay. What I'm hoping for is that this will teach even the most skeptical union member how important it is to be a union member, and how important it is to have a voice, union, contract, and to have the ability to show solidarity like we've done these last couple of weeks. So, and it's a big difference between having a union and not having a union. Over at Delta and JetBlue, they've tried to implement these same cuts that they're doing at United. They don't have anybody to go to. They have nobody to turn to. They have nobody to speak up for them. They have nobody to fight for them. And I'm hoping that they learn from this, because don't get me wrong, we're going to try to help them from where we are, but it's a big difference trying to help them from the outside to be able to sit at the table with them and be able to fight the company, standing hip to hip. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And that's one of the biggest pluses for having a union, even beyond the obvious thing like increased pay, better working conditions, better benefits, is like you have a seat at the table when things happen. When the company wants to make major decisions, they've got to bring representatives of workers in there to talk to consult with, and they have their voices heard. When you don't have a union, you've got no mechanism to make your voice heard, especially when you have these big, multi-billion-dollar corporations. Me as a ramp worker at JFK, if I didn't have a union, there's no way that they would hear what I think.
That's exactly right. And we'll hope, we've got some organizing drive going on over there. Obviously with the COVID-19 situation, it's kind of cooled off a little bit, but hopefully now this will open some eyes over there at both Delta and JetBlue, and how important it is to sign a card and be part of a union. Could you imagine we had those two big carriers as part of what we already have? We'd be almost unstoppable, to be quite frank.
Hey, Mike, this is David. And we didn't talk about this before, but, and if you don't know it off the top of your head, that's great. But, it may be a good idea right here. Is there a place where, a website where those Delta workers can go and, fill out an A card, or maybe print one out, an authorization card for anybody that don't know, and fill one of those out? Do you know that off the top of your head?
And I don't mean to go to the international website, which you guys probably know just as well as I do. It's either GoIAM or IAM.
GoIAM.org,
right?
Yep, GoIAM.org.
Right. And they could go there, and if they search that, it should be easy enough to get on there and get an authorization card and sign it over there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy for them. If they're listening to the show and they want to organize, they can reach out to us, either one of us, me or Jacob, contact the show through Facebook, and we will make sure that we get an A card put in their hands. Let's just make it easy for them. Just reach out to us.
Well, that's greatly appreciated, and I hope a lot of them take you up on that. That's for sure.
Absolutely, we would love to be a part of that. So. With the coronavirus affecting shops, not just across the nation, but across the world, I'm certain that your district and locals have been instrumental in keeping our workers safe as far as informing them about proper PPE and safety procedures. So could you expand a bit on how important workplace safety is and how your union is providing members with a voice relating to their safety in their workplace?
Absolutely. So we got a fantastic safety team. It gets collectively a bunch of people from each one of the carriers, and obviously we talk daily, weekly, if not daily, and some of the things that they would help give me an opportunity to go to the company, explain to them to properly socially distance, because when you're in a ready room, there's not many flights. There's a lot of people on top of each other. And the safety guys came to me with an idea of dividing the workforce and making it a safer work environment to socially distance. Because unfortunately, not until we lost a handful of members that worked for the IM and worked for these carriers did the carriers start listening to us and how crucial it is to go about this safely and just to go about it safely and just make sure that people go home the same way they came to work and not contracting any kind of virus that could be harmful, not only to their health, but maybe even to their livelihood. So,
right.
So thanks to the safety team for that.
So moving forward, we're obviously going to have a really hard fight on our hands. How can other unions across the nation, like myself, I'm in AFGE, or how can folks who aren't in a union, how can the average traveler help out in the fight moving forward?
So listen, we've won the battle here, but the fight by any means is not over. So if people in other union groups or in our own union can join in anytime we're doing any type of informational picketing, anytime we're doing any type of handbilling, or simply by sitting on the couch and calling their senator or their congresswoman or their congressman, just a little thing like that could help us gain support against corporations that just want to try to, take advantage of their workforce. And as far as the average traveler, listen, we've been talking about, I think David mentioned it before, we might be union, but we need our companies to survive, right? We need the flying public to come back, or there's going to be furloughs. There's going to be drastic cutbacks in manpower, and that's not good for anybody. We need our carriers to survive, or our members will be out of work. And I don't want that. Nobody wants that. So, but carriers have done some good things. They're cleaning planes in between every flight now with disinfectant to make sure that the flying public doesn't contract any type of germs. They're implementing new circulatory air systems, which makes the air cleaner, almost cleaner in the airplane than it is on the ground. You might even be safer on an airplane than you are at your local grocery store. That's how much they're doing. So I can tell you that they are taking the proper steps to make the flying public feel safe and actually be safe.
That's awesome. And what you were talking about, you not wanting your carriers to go under, that's such an important point, and it really illustrates just how far from reality a lot of the corporate propaganda is about unions. Like the UAW had one of the largest strikes in recent history last year, I think it was, and somebody that I know was like, they're going to strike themselves out of a job or something, and they don't realize that during the financial crisis, UAW like the members there voluntarily accepted pay cuts, benefit cuts, just they took cuts across the board to help their company survive. And what they were striking for was they weren't even getting parity with what the pre-2008 contracts yet. So that's one of the biggest lies that I've ever heard, is that unions are trying to make their corporations go out of business. It doesn't make intuitive sense. It doesn't make any kind of sense. But folks believe it.
It drives us nuts. If people would just take a step back at a place like Delta and just look at the money that Delta's spending to keep the union out, there's a reason for that. And the reason is because we're going to give them what they deserve. We're not going to try to drive a company out of business. Then we're out of business, right? If all the companies are out of business, we're out of business. It just doesn't make any sense. Like you said, I'm kind of stealing some of your words there, but I couldn't agree more.
And one of the things to talk about here is, as far as the Delta goes, is a lot of times they're spending money. Delta is spending money to keep the union out, not because it's going to cost them more. It's because they lose control. And,
That's right.
A lot of times they talk about money and they talk about offshoring and things like that. But the fact of the matter is what Delta is worried about is actually the workers having a voice and being able to say, I think this is unsafe. I don't really want to do that. Can we talk about it a little bit more instead of just being told what to do? And that's really at the end of the day not just Delta. We're kind of harping on Delta, and I don't mean to do that. That's one of our favorite carriers down here. Maybe we can get them organized. With it being in Atlanta, they fly just about anywhere in the Southeast, so everybody kind of tends to jump on them. But so it's not just Delta, but they lose control because with the committees like you were talking about earlier, the safety committees being able to come in and sit down at the table with them, it's an authoritarian system. They don't want to lose. They do not want democracy on the shop floor and for workers to have a voice and how they go about their daily lives at work.
That's absolutely right. They almost intimidate people. Just if the union was going to take some of that away from them, why would they care if the group was unionized?
Right. Exactly. So anything else that you wanted to add? Anything else that we haven't asked you about that you feel like is really important about this contract, or anything else that your union and your district is working on right now that you want our listeners to know about?
Well, if I could, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I think the more we can promote from within, I think it's huge. I obviously want to thank my family for their tremendous support during this time, and my executive board has been tremendous during this whole process. Our international, right, led by, obviously Robert Martinez, our international president, but General Vice President Cito Pantoja and his entire staff, who is a tremendous help through this whole process. And then, of course, the members. If they only knew how important they were during this whole process and them sticking behind their union leadership, that's what made this work. That's what made it happen. Mike Klemm is just a spokesman for them. You elected me to be a spokesperson. You guys are the body. And because you guys were frustrated and you guys expressed that frustration, this is what we were able to achieve together. I didn't do it. District Lodge 141 didn't do it. The IM didn't do it. We did it as a group. So I'm hoping everybody learned from this. And I'm hoping, even more importantly, some of the non-unionized workforces learn from this as well.
Yeah. And Mike, let me say this. As you go back and talk to all your folks, and if they're listening on the radio or, we're going to try to get this video to Dave so he can get it out to everybody. Tell everybody that's out there in the airline industry that we certainly appreciate it as well, because I'm what's considered an essential worker in the defense industry. And, we have people flying out to California consistently, and we are really appreciative of everything that they're doing to keep us safe out there as well, brother.
I will do. Thank you guys so much, and keep up the good work. Best of luck to you guys with this. This can't be successful enough for me, I can tell you that. So thank you. You guys have been great. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.